Good morning. Good morning, family. Good morning, team. Good morning, my brother Drew. God bless it to the gods among us. Welcome back to another episode, the first one in probably a year of Riv Academy. Listen, I want to shout out my brothers Drew and Dehls, because they were pretty much the driving force in getting me back. I know I kept pushing everything back. I also want to commend the fans, and I want to say this to start it off. Thank you, Drew, for being on my first episode back.
Appreciate you
We're gonna
having me,
talk.
brother.
We're gonna talk about the opening night for a little bit, but I want to first get into the idea of what's going on here. So obviously, I'm not a Wednesday morning guy. Everybody knows I'm not a morning guy. I don't give a fuck about the mornings. But we had it last night. We had pick a side. That always is the priority. I pick a side first. So we had to get that episode out. But we wanted to get an episode in because I know I promised October I'd do it. It was cutting it close for October 24th.
Very, very close.
Yeah, I put it
Here.
on my son, so life was on the line at that point. So I had to really get an episode out. But we're here, and this year for me is gonna be a bit of an experiment year. So for you guys, I'm gonna drop a ton of things, ton of different ideas, just to have some experience to see what goes with what I like, what I want to do. I kind of want to give y'all my experience in the life of basketball. It's just not gonna be content. It's gonna be everything included, just my life with basketball. But Drew, how was your morning, man?
It's going okay so far. So far, we just watched a ton of basketball. Had to rewatch an unfortunate basketball game in the Lakers and Nuggets. Watch back some ugly basketball with the Warriors and Suns. We were just talking about it. Other than that, listen, how can I complain? I'm talking about sports on a Wednesday morning. Life's great.
Life is great, man. And, it's nice outside. It was a little chilly when I woke up, so I had to put my heater
It's
on.
brick in this house.
Yeah. I had the windows wide open. It's insane. But listen, we're gonna give you some raw, uncut. I know last night we only was on for about 35 to 40 minutes, so we didn't really go into detail. I watched the games back over too, and I got some more insight. So Drew, let's start it off. Lakers, Nuggets. Denver. They got their rings last year. I think that was their first championship in NBA history, so that's historic. For them, granted, the Joker brought that to him. Jamal Murray had a great run. Shout out to Denver for getting that ring. The Lakers were their opponent in the Western Conference Finals. The games were somewhat close, but it was a sweeping nonetheless. Talk about that game and talk about what you expected coming in. Talk about how the game went for you and what were your thoughts?
I expected our offense to be a lot better than what it was. Now, we showed spurts where that's kind of just the Lakers that we kind of know. Last season, that was our backbone, kind of just going down early and then clawing back, fighting back, rallying the troops, and ultimately getting the W in the end. But unfortunately, that was the same story yesterday where we go down early, we go down 18 points, and then slowly but surely we start to cut the lead. We went into halftime down single digits. Going into the third quarter, we had it to cut it. We cut it in. We cut the lead to 4 at one point. We obviously have those capabilities to hang with the Nuggets. The Nuggets are just a little bit more well-oiled machine right now at this point in time. Nikola Jokic is just at a different pace than everyone else right now. But I was expecting Anthony Davis to be dominant. He was dominant in the first half. Second half, he was not. He was far from. Did not score. All 17 points were in the first half. Now you're telling me in the first half you have 17 points. That is a great half of basketball. You go into the second half and you're a no-show. That's not something that I want to see. I was expecting this team to not be so reliant on LeBron James. That's something that I unfortunately had to see once again. We're going into year 21, and he still needs to be our engine. You saw the stats. When he's on the court, we're a +7. When he's off, we're a -14. It cannot be. It can't be that at this point in time in his career that Anthony Davis can't be the one that is taking the reins. That Anthony Davis needs to understand he needs to have the keys to the car. He needs to be the one that's in full control. At this point, it was disappointing to see Anthony Davis not be consistently dominant. But I liked what I saw. I like to see Taurean Prince get involved. Austin Reeves didn't have that great of a game. D'Angelo Russell, I like the effort that he showed on the defensive side of the ball. But what I was expecting was more so just a more well-rounded team performance. But again, opening night, it doesn't seem to be the Lakers' night these last few years that I've been watching them.
Listen, I'm here to give you raw, uncut, real shit. And, first of all, I got to get a backstory. We were in the group chat arguing about if we were even going to record on opening night. I
Yep.
wanted to watch the Lakers game. Drew was very advocate. He wanted to watch the Lakers game. Joel was like, nah, it's the Lakers. Who really wants to watch the Lakers? Let's catch the Suns game. So we were trying to figure out our schedules because, we're so busy and NBA is back. So that's a bunch of games that we got to watch and put out great content for you guys. So thankfully we was able to get something out for you guys yesterday and still able to catch the games. Now, I missed a little bit of the first quarter, so I had to rewatch, of course, to get back into good graces. Caught the game. For starters, I think that game further puts my case of why I thought Joker was the best player in the league for the past 2 or 3 seasons. It just helps my case even more. I thought this guy was the best player in the league for the past 2 or 3 seasons, and him not having his teammates kind of hindered his success in the playoffs. And then you see his first time with his teammates back in form, they go and they win a title. And I think this year coming in, the most important thing for championship teams, I feel like for the most part, is continuity. I feel like you have to have that continuity that like you have to like each other off the court. You have to be genuine friends, genuinely care about each other. Because when you have that extra edge, you want to go out there and play your best for the guy next to you. You want to play next to your brother, put it all on it, put it all out there on the line. So I feel like Denver plays like that. Even the young guys, you can see the camaraderie with those guys and how they play. Denver's offense is one of the best I've ever seen. The flow, the pace, how any guy can bring it up the ball, how they can transition from power forward to center to point guard, how they run so many ball screens, so many handoffs. It's just beautiful basketball. And even KCP, you saw, he felt like this was a chip on his shoulder. I
He
understand.
killed us,
Lakers,
bro.
the Lakers were his team. He has a title with the Lakers. Now he has a title with Denver. That's something sweet to see. He absolutely imposed his will. His hands are probably one of the best in the league at deflecting passes, just
Oh
getting
yeah.
in the passing lane. He was amazing. And then of course Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, who's one of the best at exploiting mismatches. He saw any small guy on him, he dominated. He sees a mismatch, he goes right to the basket, he imposes his will. I think Denver looks primed to take another run. I think they're still one of the best teams in the league. I know they lost Bruce Brown, but I think with Christian Brown, Payne Watson, and that starting five, I think you can definitely rely on this team to still make a deep run. As for the Lakers, their big issue, which is odd because their best attribute last year after the All-Star break was defense. And I think
Yep.
this game was their big issue is defensively. Defensively, they did not communicate. Defensively, they could not hold their own on those ball screens, those pick and rolls, which is insane to me because you would think a team that played the Warriors in Denver in back-to-back series, probably two teams that use the most off-ball screens in the
Oh
league,
yeah.
they would adjust that in the offseason. And they just played Denver, but they come in, I get it. They got a few new guards, but nothing too much. Dennis Schroeder, we shit on him, but he's one of the best screen navigators at the guard position. So losing him is probably tough. Plus, you don't have Vando for the night. So that was gonna be a tough matchup. But Jamal wasn't no killer. Like he had 21 points. It was good, but it wasn't like 30 or the 28 he had in the WCF. But the guards have to be better. I think the guards are probably the ones who take this game in the pick and roll defending. They wasn't communicating. They wasn't switching. Even Reeves got caught a few times not
Definitely.
switching properly. Like team defense is important. You have to be able to communicate. And then you mentioned it. The non-LeBron minutes were tough. Like there was a stretch in the game. I want to say it was 8:48 in the fourth quarter. That may not be the right time, but it was in the 8-minute mark.
Uh-huh.
We're down 4. It was 90-94. Darvingham takes LeBron out. That's the
Yep.
game to me. That's the
Yep.
game right there. You clawed your way back. You had an opportunity to win that game. You take LeBron out at I understand you have a minutes restriction. He's old, but you want to win that game. You want to win that game. And if you want to win that game, you keep LeBron in. 8 minutes left. He's shown he could do it. Keep him in for the rest of the quarter. At least keep him in to get a good amount of lead. Give him like a 2-3 minute break. And we're going to talk about another coach that did that too, also. But you keep LeBron in, you get that lead. But I feel like that was the game right there. You clawed your way back. Those AD minutes and no LeBron minutes are tough because AD is not an offensive initiator. He's not a playmaker, so he's not going to get those other guys involved. And then you don't have a point guard that can do that. Maybe if you had example like a Tyus Jones coming in with an AD, the offense would flow because he's a pure point guard, a pure playmaker. But you don't have that. But I think this team is definitely still a good team defensively. It's just Denver really had their number.
Yeah, Denver's going to be one of the best offenses in basketball yet again. The one concern that we spoke about yesterday was, how is this team when Jokic is off the court? Because that's when we made a majority of our run. When Jokic was off the court, we took full advantage. We brought this game within 4. Jokic comes back on the court, and then they shut shit down. Jokic is just an unbelievable player that immediately he knows how to control the game. He knows that once he gets the basketball, he can stretch the floor out a little bit, bring AD out from the paint. The world's their oyster because now they can cut. Of course, the pick and pop that they were killing yesterday. We saw KCP. We saw Jamal. Michael Porter Jr. wasn't his usual self in terms of efficiency. But still, these are guys that are able, that once Jokic has the ball, they know their role. And obviously, they've executed at such a high level. I anticipate better, obviously, from the Los Angeles Lakers on the defensive side of the ball. But you're right. Unless Reeves is going to become our true solidified one, we need some stability at the guard position, particularly at initiating the offense, because if LeBron's going to be on this minutes restriction, he's our facilitator, he's our initiator on the offensive side of the ball. If he's going to be on a minutes restriction, we need a true one when he's not on the court to make sure that we're locked down on that offensive side of the ball. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, Tyus Jones, if Gabe Vincent continues to play like this, I'll be advocating for him to be on the trade block, but definitely not going to overreact to game 1 too much.
Yeah, 100%. I think you guys, like, I was thinking last night, like, what point guards are out there that could possibly be on the market? I don't think many teams are selling. Maybe Detroit, Monte Morris. Maybe, like we talked about, Washington eventually, because he's on a 1-year deal. So Tyus Jones, DeLon Wright, those are good point guards. D'Lo's on a friendly, and I think D'Lo eventually would probably be moved. I don't think he's the point guard for you guys. I think you got him back on a team friendly deal, but I don't think the market for him was super high. Having D'Lo, Gabe, Reeves as your point guards, there isn't a true natural playmaker in that position. You don't have any rookies or young players that can fill in. Like Jalen Hood-Schifino is also not that.
Yep.
So and Max Christie is also not that. Maxwell Lewis is not that. So you don't have that. And outside of LeBron, you don't have anybody which is what we're expecting. We're expecting Reeves to make that breakout. We're expecting Reeves to be that guy, to come in, be that second playmaker where LeBron's off, you have Reeves on, and he can initiate the offense. But I think that's the most important part. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that all tangles together, because you have a team that's well built defensively. You have a lot of good wings, a lot of spacing. Taurean Prince was amazing too. We didn't, he could be taking minutes from Rui at some point. Or even Vando, if he's hitting that 3 at that consistent rate, you're gonna have to take offense for defense and get that guy in the game. So I could see it could be a world where I could see a lineup where it's Reeves, it's LeBron, Prince, AD, and whoever else you want to throw at the 2, or maybe throw in another big. Like Christian Wood played fine. Rui didn't see much minutes, because he wasn't hitting his jumpers.
He was struggling.
Yeah, so they kind of took him out early. Saw some nice Cam Reddish minutes, but I doubt he'll, solidify that role, because Vando will be back, and once he's back, Vando's role is solidified. So you got to kind of find that niche. But like, who was your? I know you didn't win the game, but there's always a player of the game. So
yeah,
and I want to get into the business of naming a player of the game on my show that's like, doesn't get recognition. So it can't be LeBron. It can't be Anthony Davis. Who would be your player of the game for both teams? Not a star.
Yeah, it's 100% going to be Taurean Prince. I mean, the guy was knocked down all night. He was our most reliable shooter, really the only reliable shooter on the team. You're right. LeBron's in his own category. He would be the best player for the Lakers, obviously. But Taurean Prince coming in and knocking down in his debut, that was a great tone setter, because we lost Troy Brown, and Troy Brown's bread and butter was 3-and-D. He was not that efficient of a three-point shooter, but he was a solid defender. Now we go and we replace that with Taurean Prince, who is a sniper. He is lethal, and it was great to see him on day one to do the job that we paid him to do. So absolutely no doubt it's got to be Taurean. Yeah,
Taurean was great. The 3-ball was hitting, and remember, we saw him against the Lakers in that playing game.
Yeah,
he was putting on the show. Yeah, he was putting on the show. And then he went to the Lakers. So it's funny how that worked out. But he was putting on the show in that playing when we watched it, and that was an amazing amazing game. And I think honestly, Prince, he doesn't get a credit for he's a really good role player. He's a
Hell
guy
yeah.
who can definitely come in, play a solid role. He did that for Minnesota. He's done that for teams before, and that was a great pickup for you guys. But let's shift over.
Hmm.
Who's the guy on Denver that you think is gonna be the guy that not out of the starting five, the guy off the bench that's gonna be the guy to have the biggest impact? I know this is game one, but who would be your guy that you would just make that bet in?
It's got to be Christian Brown. And I say that for the idea of I saw some tough shots from him. There's one where Jokic hits him on a cut. He goes and feels the contact over Christian Wood, finishes with the left. Now, I say that because, one, that is a very tough shot to make. But again, he's taken in that role he's fulfilling that role now that Bruce Brown's gone. You take those minutes and you give them to to Christian Brown. He needs to be able to rebound well. He needs to be able to defend well. He needs to be able to knock down his shots. He needs to know when it's time to cut to the basket. And he knows how to do all these things. We saw a little bit of that last night and of course in the playoffs, but I think on the year-long run, we'll see Christian become a little bit more prominent with this team because again, Bruce meant a lot to this squad. Bruce was one of the key role players to the Nuggets winning a championship. And I think that so long as we see him defend at a high level like we saw him blocking some shots also. We see him continue to finish at a high efficiency at the basket, knock down the three ball. I mean, I think that very firmly he's going to be a huge part to the Nuggets wanting to win a championship.
And of course, I got to go back to your Lakers. My last question before we shift over to my boys, of course.
Let's
Max
go.
Christie, you've been very advocate. This is a guy that needs minutes. This is a guy that could possibly blossom into a great to good, maybe not say great, but you definitely think good role player, potentially great. Do you see any form of him fitting into this rotation or getting minutes throughout the season?
It's tough because again, we just paid Gabe Vincent. We have D'Lo. We have Austin Reeves. And we saw Cam Reddish. Of course, he plays the three, but still, he got minutes over a Max Christie. I think that was solely for the fact of Denver's a big team, and we needed to match up defensively. So Cam, in his few minutes that he did play, he looked solid on the defensive side of the ball. He just needs to knock down some shots. I think that it's dependent on the lineup and the team that we do face that Max will get some minutes. But again, if Gabe's not going to knock down a three, I am okay with seeing minutes from a Max Christie. I like the idea of bringing Gabe Vincent in again because he's a 3-and-D. But if you're not knocking down your shots, you're not that valuable to me. We brought you in here to knock down threes. That is what our need was. And so for that to be the case, I know Max Christie is a sniper. I know he's not a bigger dude. He's got a smaller frame. He'll have difficulty defending the bigger guard. But at the same time, we need to put offense at a forefront at a certain point in time. And with the idea that you're even flirting with Taurean Prince over a Rui Hachimura or a Jared Vanderbilt, then the same energy needs to be kept for a Max Christie playing over a guy like Gabe Vincent. Or if D'Lo is really, really struggling, get Max in the game. I think that there were some great moments of D'Lo. Let me say good moments of D'Lo because he can knock down a shot. He was getting active with his hands on the defensive side of the ball. But I think that if we are going to be a team that wants to be a overall better offensive team, we need to heighten our shooting, and Max Christie can help us there.
It's interesting because I think, Gabe Vincent is a peculiar player because I think in Miami, he had the ball a lot, a lot of work in the pick and roll. He was kind of one of their microwave engine scorers, and now coming into the Lakers, it's a different role. So of course, me and you are not overreacting. We're just reacting to the game. We're not going to overreact to the role, But Gabe is going to have to play, like you mentioned, a different role with the Lakers. There's a lot of guys to feed on this team. With Miami, he was kind of that third, sometimes even the first guy on some nights. Sometimes he had to go and they was feeding him the ball. Miami plays a different style of basketball than the Lakers, of course. The Lakers, you run through AD and LeBron and then Reeves, and then everybody else feeds after that. So I think Gabe, and he gets his shots. His shot diet is a little different. They're a little bit more difficult shots. So he's definitely going to have to find his way. Shifting over, though, to, obviously the best team in the world, the Golden State Warriors, playing the Phoenix Suns. Golden State made a splash move in the offseason while trading Jordan Poole, their heritage young player, and grabbing Chris Paul from the Suns. And then the Suns made the actual great splash move and grabbing Bradley Beal. What a way to start the opening night. Well, let's throw Warriors versus Suns. Unfortunately, Draymond Green got hurt in training camp. Bradley Beal is also still dealing with a back injury. So we didn't get to see those two guys in this game, which I think if we did, I still think we would have got around the same result. A great game nonetheless. But we still got to see Kevin Durant, Devin Booker versus Steph Curry and his role players. So excuse me, let me be respectful, and his stars and role players. So yeah, let me not disrespect Klay Thompson a little bit because I know his fans are a little wild. But talk to me. Let's talk about the game. What were your initial thoughts? Do you think the Warriors are in trouble? Are you more concerned about Phoenix or the Warriors?
So this game was sloppy. And I say that where we saw a masterclass from Devin Booker, but on the opposite side, Kevin Durant was not his usual efficient self. He was taking tough shots, forcing shots. Every shot, honestly, it seemed as if he was being met with resistance. Nothing came easy to Kevin Durant last night. Now, on the opposite side, you have the Golden State Warriors, who, again, sloppy. You had Steph Curry not have his best game. Klay Thompson missing some shots. Andrew Wiggins missing shots. It was an overall ugly game from both teams that ended up being a close game down the end. So obviously it was entertaining to watch. But the Suns, your question marks become, is this just a three-man team? Is this just going to be a two-man show once again? Because if that's the case, you're not going to the championship. You're not winning the Western Conference Finals. That's not happening. We saw that it can win you a couple games when Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are on, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not winning a series. Now, you look at this game, and Devin Booker was on. He was saving face. He was unbelievable. He was clicking on all cylinders. But the defense still is a question. You had Golden State missing a ton of open looks. It allowed the score to look a lot better to the eye, but in reality, you have a bunch of guys missing layups. You have Wiggins struggling. Kuminga was okay. He had some good moments down the stretch. Chris Paul couldn't hit a shot to save his life early on in this game. Great facilitator. I'll give credit where credit is due. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on CP3. He couldn't find a bucket, but he was a great initiator for you guys last night. It was just a sloppy game of basketball from both sides. You look at the Warriors' defense, I think that they're going to be all right with Draymond once he comes back. But without Draymond, we know that the defense becomes a huge concern. But what we saw on the defensive side of the ball, Kuminga looked fantastic. He was being a little bit over-aggressive, did have 5 fouls, nevertheless, took the tough assignment. He looked very good. Gary Payton's going to be that reliable defensive guy for you guys, no doubt about it. Wiggins, now he's the one that I want to ask you about.
Talk to me.
Because we saw down the stretch, Kerr decided to run with Kuminga and leave Wiggins on the bench. Now, we spoke about it a little bit yesterday. Are you okay with that? Is that going to be something that we see in the future? Because there's no way in your closing minutes that Wiggins, who is one of your better scorers as well, he's one of your best defenders, absolutely, that you're keeping him on the bench.
Listen, everybody know how I feel about Mr. Wiggs, man. That's he has become one of my favorite players in basketball. I have his jersey in my closet. He's my dog. I understand it and I agree with it because I feel like on Wiggins' part, rewatching the game, he did not play well. Like, I don't think he played good at all. And the reason why I say that because Steve Kerr is an energy guy. He wants a guy who's giving the full 110% energy. If you're giving me that, I will play you. And Kuminga was given that on the glass. He was given that, especially in the fourth quarter. Aggressive. He had a play where Chris Paul is coming off the screen. Kuminga sealed off his man. Chris Paul feeds him, bucket.
Yep.
Like it's easy. When Kuminga does the easy things, he's a really good player. And that's what you want. You want that energy. Yeah, he had the 2 free throws. I love the aggressiveness. He missed 2. That hurts. Definitely hurt us, but he's young. You need those learning curves, those learning pains. After that, he had a bad play where he's being over aggressive. You mentioned it. Sometimes he can be a little too overzealous, but you love the energy because he gets right back. And you saw the defense he was playing on Kevin Durant. No shot was easy. Every shot Kevin Durant took, it felt like it was a tough shot, whether it was because of GP, Chris Paul, Wiggins, or Kuminga. They put a collective effort in stopping Kevin Durant, and they did that. And, credit to Devin Booker. He beat every coverage. That team won by 4 points. I think Andrew Wiggins has to be better. I think he has to what he was that first year. No, that was the second year because he was there the first year.
That
The
was the
second
year
year,
that you guys lost to us.
yeah, yeah, in a play-in, painfully,
Yeah.
and then we lost to the Grizzlies because Draymond. Never mind, I'm not going to relive that.
Yuck.
Yeah,
God, thanks for
that
reminding
floater
me of
was
that.
disgusting. But that year two, Wiggins needs to be that on the glass. He needs to be as he just needs to be more active. He
Yep.
needs to take shots when it matters, be active on the glass, be a great rebounder when he was that in the small ball lineups. Because we're going to need him now more than ever. The size is apparent. We're not going to have size coming in at any point. We're going to need to really be a gang rebounder. And that goes for Steph and Chris Paul, too. Because watching that game, they were also the reasons we lost. Steph, I'm going to get into Steph right now, actually. Steph played like shit. And I'm going to tell you why Steph played like shit. Because that's my dog. Not because he played like shit because he missed shots. Because he missed open looks that usually go in first night, whatever, you're old, you get that pass. Steph played like shit because he allowed Okogie to get on the offensive glass. Every chance he got caught ball watching, and he
Yep.
wasn't fighting hard. He wasn't giving his 100% effort.
No
And
doubt.
maybe you could attest that to first game jitters, fine, whatever. We got Sacramento coming up soon. We know how they get. So you need to be better on that defensive end. But Steph was one of the reasons we lost this game, not because of the fact that offensively he couldn't get it going. He was throwing bad passes. He was throwing turnovers. He came off a screen, went to the rack on the right side, tried to throw a
Yeah.
pass like like to the
Bad
left.
pass.
Yeah, a
Terrible.
horrible pass. And it was like, Steph, that's in the fourth quarter. What are you doing? But Wiggins has to be better. If Wiggins and Kuminga could give us that combination on the wing, that's perfect. But I think you mentioned it. The Warriors defensively, for the most part, they played well.
They did.
Especially without their anchor. They didn't have a rim protector all game. They didn't have somebody that defense in the back line is so important, especially if you can communicate what's going on. And Draymond Green is one of the best communicators in the game. And Kevon Looney's not that, and Sarek is definitely not that. So they didn't have that. But in terms of getting turnovers, being a pest on the perimeter, forcing tough shots, they were there. And as small as they are, which I said last night, and I'm gonna reiterate it again, unless Steph is playing with Gary Payton, I don't want him in the line. I don't want him playing too much with Chris Paul, unless we're playing a team like the Clippers. I'm fine with that. They run small ball lineups,
Yep.
but a team that like Nurkic was destroying us. Looney wasn't. He just wasn't Looney last night. Like Kevin Durant, he's 7 feet. So Okogie, if he's getting on the glass, you got to go big, And I like the late adjustment. Put Clay on Okogie, put Steph on Eric Gordon. You live with that, because Clay is a bigger. And Clay was playing great defense too last night. I'm not going to sit here and forget that he was playing great defense. Offensively, though, we just didn't get it going. And I think that, we could attest that to a lot of shots were short. A lot of shots were short. We missed a lot of open layups. 13 missed open layups I counted in the first half.
That's crazy.
We were down like 15 going into the second half, so that could attest to the missed layups. We fouled a little bit too much in the first half, fixed that up in the second half. Like you mentioned, the one thing that was great was we didn't turn the ball over in the first 3 quarters, which we usually do, but then we got back to it in the fourth quarter. So it's a lot of things to learn from it, but I think as a Warriors fan, you could walk away from this good. As for Phoenix, though, their defense is a concern. Like and we knew this. Their defense is a legit concern. This was a mid defense. Yeah, you can think like if you just look at the box score, yeah, they locked up the Warriors. No, the Warriors missed a shit ton of open looks. The Suns were messing up on their communication. They were letting guys get open. Their transition defense was not good. And that's something that the defense for the Suns has to figure out. Beal doesn't fix that, but what he does fix is those turnovers that the Suns had. They had 18 turnovers. I think Beal can kind of limit a lot of those, maybe get them down to 14, 15, like I said. Excuse me. And then Kevin Durant, his shot diet. You're 34, 35 years old. You need to find a way to get better shots for yourself, not the tough turnaround jumpers, spin on 2 defenders. No, you need to find a way to find more open looks for yourself. As for Devin Booker, this is going to be a real test because I know we me and you, it was 1:30 in the morning, so we didn't want to dig in too much into it last night. But Devin Booker as a passer, I think, was a little bit overrated last night. There was moments like when it was simple, when he had the pick and roll, and it was just the big man in front of him, Nurkic rolling. He can make that pass to Nurkic, or he has the ability to make that skip pass to the corner. But then there was other times where you saw different coverages, like he'll come off the screen as one-on-one, then they send another. You see him trip, or you see him get indecisive, stumble, make a bad pass or, on a fast break, try to, Chris Paul is one of the smartest players we've ever seen, kind of pulls the chair on him, lets him go. So Devin Booker still has ways to go as a playmaker, as a number one initiator, but he's definitely a good playmaker. It's just that next level is going to be being consistent on that end.
Yeah, Devin Booker was, I still credit, obviously, his offense was the
Perfect.
main reason why we saw this Phoenix Suns ultimately win this game, because even down the stretch, he trusted Nurkic to make that bucket. He trusted Eric Gordon to go, of course, Okogie as well. Down the stretch, he trusted his guys, and the role players did their job. As much as we want to give, some heat to them for the first 3 quarters, and honestly, the first 4 quarters and minus the last 4 minutes of the game, that's when finally we saw the role players really start to show out. But this defense really is a concern, especially with the idea of when Beal comes back on the court, that his strength is not defense. He's going to help initiate the offense. We're going to see this offense be a lot better than what we saw last night. But on the defensive side of the ball, you have Bradley Beal, who struggles playing defense. Of course, Devin Booker, I wouldn't say he's a bad defender. I wouldn't call him a great defender. Number Josh Okogie. I'm sorry, this comment right here just blew mine. Endoplasmic reticulum, something about it.
What is that?
What do you know about the rough endoplasmic reticulum? That's some science.
Isn't that in the cell or bacteria?
Yeah, it's some science shit. Yeah. Josh Okogie, of course, he's going to knock down some shots. He's a solid defender. You trust Okogie. Kevin Durant, and then Nurkic. Nurkic looked all right. He had his moments, a little sloppy. But all in all, I think he played a good game. It's just, can you trust more than 3 players on this court on a night-to-night basis for the Phoenix Suns? That's really what comes my concern, because the Warriors didn't play good. They did not play well at all, and it was a 4-point game. And you can't have a quarter where you allow 40 points coming out of halftime. That is simply unacceptable. But that is vintage Warriors. I texted you as soon as it happened. The Warriors are going to warrior. They're back to their third quarter ways. That was an amazing quarter of basketball, but you can't allow that if you're the Phoenix Suns. We know that you're an offensive team. We know that how you're going to win games is by scoring the basketball. But end of the day, defense wins championships. We saw it with the Nuggets last year. Yes, their offense was incredible, but in the playoffs, their defense was almost equally as great. They were able to do their thing against the Lakers, do their thing against Miami, because their defense was like, we saw Michael Porter step up, Aaron Gordon step up, Bruce Brown step up, Jokic even handling the work down low as well. That's what happens when it's time to lock in. It's the defensive side of the ball that wins you games. We don't worry about your offense, but your defense is going to be the reason why so many people are doubting you come season's end.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned, people are going to give them an excuse because that is vintage Warriors. Third quarter, whether they're down or up, be prepared because it's probably the best third quarter team in NBA history. As long as if it's the Warriors third quarter, I don't know what it is about it. They make adjustments, they come out blazing. But in that third quarter, Steph got another foul early, and he had to sit down. What moved me in that third quarter is the non-Steph minutes. Mm-hmm. They played great defensively, and offensively, they were able to get good shots. And that's what has been the problem for this team. When Steph is not on the court, this team cannot generate offense. They can generate defense, no doubt in my mind, because Steph isn't a great defender. It's fine. But offensively, they cannot generate offense. And that's what we see in that third quarter. That's what gives me hope about this bench. If you just tone it to Chris Paul, GP, Moody, Kuminga, Saric, you rotate however you want to rotate with those 5 guys. Yeah. And if Moody and Kuminga, if Kuminga plays better than this, which I thought he played okay, but if he can play better than this, and Moody plays like this.
Moody played well.
Yeah, if he plays like this is a team that now you're looking, they may not be able to upset Denver or Phoenix or the Lakers, but those are 6-7 game series that can make it very challenging if you just get those 2 to upgrade. And I think, this team, like you mentioned it, they played horrible. Like they played bad, and it was a 4-point game. And you have to look at it like that. But with the Suns, I trusted Kogi. I think because of his effort, because of the fact that he just doesn't rely on an open jumper.
Yeah.
Defensively, he was in Steph's face. He was in whoever's face he was guarding. Chris Paul, Steph, he brings their energy. He's active on the glass. As long as he's doing all that, they'll keep him on the floor. I think we know Nurkic enough to know he can hit the mid-range. He can hit a three or two here and there. Good post player, good passer, good rebounder. So we know he's going to bring that as long as he's healthy. That third guy, whether it be Yuta Watanabe, I remember John and Joel telling us about Jordan Goodwin. Don't know what happened there.
I
Nuts.
thought you were going to talk about Keita Bates-Diop, who didn't
We're
even
not gonna
touch the
speak on
court.
that. I asked him. You saw I asked him last night, and he got upset. And it was a genuine question. I'm like, "Yo, why Keita didn't play?" He tried to throw shots. So I was like, "Ah,
He
I'm
did.
just asking." But yeah, the Jordan Goodwin shit was always a mystery to me. I still don't know who that is. But hopefully he figures that out. Eric Gordon was supposed to be that guy, but as I said, because I watched so many Clippers games, he takes parking lot threes. There's some wild shots, and you're just gonna either live with them or die with them. And last night they were dying with them until the end of the game. He wasn't hitting those shots, but defensively, he's a guy that can hold up. So I expect those three to be, like I mentioned, Nurkic, Okogie for sure, and a combination of Watanabe, Keita Bates-Diop if he plays, or Eric Gordon. Those should be the three key rotation guys. But is that really enough to compete with teams like the Lakers or like Denver? I know they're expecting that big three to offensively be one of the best ever, but at the same time, you mentioned it. As great as your offense can be, like we saw Dallas be a historical offense against the Clippers defense, but as great as your offense can be, you have to get stops. Like you have to at some point get a long moment of where you get stops, a 5-6 minute stretch, 5-6 minute stretch of great to elite defense. And
Yep.
this Phoenix Suns team did not show that against a struggling Warriors team. And I don't know, it's early, so I don't know when they're going to show that, but they got some tough, I think they play the Lakers in a couple of days, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. So they got some moments. That's going to be a matchup I'm interested to see, him versus AD. How do they hold up against them? But this team has some concerns. I think they have room to make a move, like a point guard, like Tyus Jones, DeLon Wright. We spoke about those. Those guys are guys that are definitely going to be on the market eventually. So this team can still make moves, but all in all, good W. You went on the road. You love to see it. You got another road game against the Lakers. So I'm excited to see that one for sure.
Let me ask you a question. Same one that you posed to me about the Nuggets and to the Warriors. Who is that key guy that you see for both the Suns and the Warriors that needs to be a consistent high-level role player for them on their journey to a championship or reaching the championship?
Well, I think like we spoke about in the offseason, you guys did think I was going to put the Warriors in a tier 1, but no, I had them as a tier 2 team. I think the world has to be perfect for them to get there. They're like, you have a puncher's chance if you're anybody in the playoffs, but it's going to be tough for this team. But I think like you mentioned, just for the question's sake, to reach that aspiration, the easy answer is Kuminga, but I think it's Moses Moody. I think it's Moses Moody. And I think you saw last night how active he is defensively. And like same with KCP with his hands, how he is in the passing lanes. Him and Garrett Payton was causing havoc in the passing lane.
For
How
sure.
active he is as a shooter. He the confidence is there. What he is in transition to the basket. I think he has to be that guy. Like I know Kuminga's the easy answer. We're all waiting. He's only 20 years old. We're all waiting for that breakout. But Moses Moody, and Draymond Green was talking about it. He's the most mature 21-year-old he's ever met. Draymond speaks highly of Moses Moody. Moody seems like a Draymond type of guy in terms of maturity, the way he approaches the game. And I think he has to be, because I think he's the guy that kind of, if Clay's gone, he's the one that steps up. So he kind of has to fill that void of like the Clay type guy, defensively give us that and be that shooter. So for me, it'd probably be Moses Moody.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, Riv, and I apologize for the dead silence. That's on me.
Brian.
But I guess the answer would be Kuminga, and I say that because you need someone on top of Looney, on top of Draymond, on top of Wiggins, who was spotty yesterday, that's going to crash the board. And we saw the bigger moments of the game for the Warriors where Kuminga was active on the glass. He was being aggressive, extra possessions. We saw that where he kicked it out to Steph. Steph was able to take a nice little quick dribble over and get the shot off and to make it a game where you just needed one more stop. Yeah. So him being active on the glass, we know that we want him to be this offensive guy. We want to see him get his buckets. We know that he's a solid defender. But really what it's going to come down to, and what Kerr has emphasized so much in this offseason, is, listen, if you're not going to crash the boards, if you're not going to be active on the glass, you're not going to get minutes. I need someone that's going to do the dirty work for us. Kuminga's young enough. He needs to have that drive. He needs to have that hunger. I think it 100% needs to be him. But for the Phoenix Suns, this one becomes more of a crapshoot because you have so many role players, like you just mentioned, that you feel all right with. But is there one that is over all of them? You have Eric Gordon, you have Okogie, you have Yusuf Nurkic. For me, the biggest one needs to be Nurkic because you don't really have that much of a big presence outside of him. Drew Eubanks, he did not give you the best of minutes yesterday. You really only have Nurkic and Drew Eubanks, unless we're going to count Kevin Durant as a big, which I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So what it comes down to is he needs to be great in navigating the pick and roll. He needs to be active in the pick and roll, which we did see last night, which ultimately ended up winning them the game, which was huge. But again, the defensive side of the ball, rebounding the basketball, this is where Nurkic needs to be huge because they traded their number 1 overall pick because they needed a better glue guy. They needed a better guy that was more reliable than DeAndre, and a guy that was not so him-oriented and team-oriented. I think Nurkic has a lot more pressure on him than I think was anticipated coming to the season because outside of him, you don't have anybody that you trust in that front court.
Yeah, and I like going back to the Warriors for a little bit. I think you mentioned like Steph is obviously the guy that puts it together, you know, Steph, Dre, and Clay. But I think the veterans like Chris Paul, like Gary Payton, like Saric, I think they're going to be as important as ever because that championship run, we had Otto Porter Jr. You know, he was a great vet. We had Iggy off the bench. He was a great, like we had multiple vets that could help Jordan Poole at his time for his ascension, you know, and I think now you have Chris Paul. You have Gary Payton, who I think at this point is a vet. You have Saric, who is a vet. You have multiple guys, Corey Joseph, who I don't want to see him play, but I would love to see him be a vet. You have guys like now you have multiple vets that can help Moody, that can help Kuminga. And they're not even mentioning the starters, but when the starters have to do the job they have to do, they may not have time to be, you know, to be that veteran presence, which is fine. You know, I don't think Clay has veteran like I don't think he, you know, he's on his boat, he's doing his thing. Like it's not no knock to him. I just think he kind of runs his own way.
He just goes there and hoop.
Yep, that's his vibe. And Kawhi does it. It's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. But I think you need multiple vets. And then for the Suns, you mentioned it. They're all right. They don't have Eubanks is not good. I don't like his minutes, and I think that backup center position is going to hurt them. But they did try Nasir Little out there. You know, he did hit a big 3 in the fourth, so they did try him out there. Maybe they go small. They do probably run KD at the 5. He is 7 feet tall, you know. So that, but he does have good help side defense. But you mentioned it in the crapshoot. They're kind of teetering. You know, they're a team that they're gonna have some depth issues. Keita Bedzia would help this team. You know, he definitely would help this team. But Drew, you know, since pick a side is 25% mine, I have a would you rather that I'm just gonna steal because
Okay.
Like I said, it is 25% mine, so I can, you know, do what I want.
Essentially do whatever.
Yep. So I can steal whatever I want from there because it's mine. Would you rather D'Angelo Russell? You know, unfortunately, I have to harp on his bad.
This is gonna get messy, man. Why are you doing this to me?
So here we go. Would you rather D'Angelo Russell, first name up, Tyus Jones?
Tyus Jones would be pretty awesome. He's a better passer.
Tyus Jones, baby.
Yeah, the answer is Tyus at this point.
I would also go Tyus. Better passer, probably better off-ball player, better playmaker. Both defensively don't offer me anything.
And efficiently, Tyus is efficient. He's pretty efficient.
Doesn't take bad shots.
No.
Would you rather D'Lo or KCP?
KCP, not even a question. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
He is one of the best role players in basketball.
Yeah, I think I would also go KCP. This next one's going to be easy too. Alex Caruso.
Are you doing this on purpose? Are you just trying to hurt me? Of course I know it's Caruso. I wish so despeately that he was on this team.
Listen,
because we need perimeter. It ain't happening. We need perimeter defense so badly. In case, Alex Caruso would be flawless there.
Next name up, Colin Sexton.
I feel like these are the same guys.
Yeah.
Except I think a little bit on more on the defensive side, even though not much. I lean D'Lo. I'll go with D'Angelo Russell.
I would also go with D'Lo. I think he's shown me more, and that's not saying much because Colin unfortunately has been injured. But I think D'Lo can give you his highs are better than Sexton's high. Next name up, Josh Okogie.
I think I still would rather D'Lo. I know Okogie does a great job in his role, but again, I think there's more responsibility with the ball in D'Angelo Russell's hands. Obviously, we rely on him a lot as a shooter. We saw that last night. We saw that throughout the playoffs, and our offense struggle when D'Angelo Russell isn't hitting. He's a key part to our team, honestly. I'm not even just saying that. So I'm going to go with D'Angelo Russell.
I would also still go with D'Lo slightly. Patrick Williams.
We haven't had the luxury of watching a plethora of Patrick Williams games just for the fact that he's been relatively injured. I feel like that one's a TBD just because we need to see a little bit more from Pat Will. We know he has a pretty high ceiling. But again, we've yet to see that on a consistent basis. Are you leaning Pat Will?
Unfortunately, I have seen a bunch of Chicago Bulls games, so I know he's probably the perfect role player because he does everything a little, and I think he would fit you guys perfectly. I think he gives you the Rui shooting while also giving you somewhat of Vando defense. Not like as great as he is. So I would go Pat Will.
Okay. I think I slightly lean D'Angelo Russell for the offensive upside.
I'm not mad at that. Next name up, Norman Powell.
Norman Powell. I mean, the guy gets to a bucket. That's all he does. He can't defend, but neither can D'Lo really. Yeah. But Norman Powell can get to a bucket very easily, and he's efficient. He was one of the leading scorers off the bench last season. So, yeah, no doubt. I think I lean Norman Powell, and it sucks that he's over there across the pond.
Last two names, Bogdan Bogdanovic.
I think I'll lean D'Lo because the same thing's over there with Bogdanovic. He's inconsistent as a shooter. He's a good shooter for sure, but I feel like his offensive game's inconsistent. He only shows you shooting, where D'Angelo Russell still is going to facilitate the basketball. He's going to shoot the basketball. He's going to get you in the post. He's going to get to the basket. I'm going with D'Lo.
I'd also go D'Lo over Powell, and I'd go Bogdanovic over D'Lo. Last name, and
Wait. You would rather Powell over? No, you would rather D'Lo over Powell.
Over Powell, yes.
Really?
Yeah. He Powell is a good microwave scorer, but when he goes tunnel vision, it's really bad, and I don't like that at all.
That's what D'Lo is.
D'Lo can sometimes make the right pass, though, for sure. And once again, if they're the same players for me, D'Lo's highs are higher, so I would take D'Lo.
And then Bogdanovic over D'Lo.
Yes, I think as a playmaker, he's vastly underrated, and he's a better off-ball player. So I would take Bogdanovic. Last name,
off-ball, he's not great.
Terrence Mann.
I'm talking about D'Lo.
By the way, I'm easily taking Terrence Mann.
Easily.
Yeah. He's a Laker killer. He's undefeated against LeBron in his career.
I would believe that because I couldn't tell you the last time that we beat the Los Angeles Clippers. I'll go Terrence Mann just because he's a great glue guy.
Okay, thank you. And I got a one flyer question because of course Riv Academy. This is what we do. We put shit on the board and we have our students learn. KCP top 5 role player. After I just named a plethora of role players, and I'm sure as of right now, you being the ball knower you are, there's a bunch of role players popping in your head at the moment. It could be guys like Naz Reid, Kyle Anderson. We can go even further.
Naz Reid's crazy good.
Yeah, Alex Caruso, like we just mentioned, Karis LeVert, like just naming got Derek White. Is KCP a top 5 role player in basketball?
Are we calling Nick Claxton a role player?
Oh, shit.
Because if Nick Claxton's a role player, I feel like we have
I'll say let's limit it to guards. Top 5 guards.
Alex Caruso is the best role player in basketball, in my opinion. Can knock down a shot, can facilitate, is, in my opinion, the best perimeter defender at the guard position. He's incredible. KCP, though, man, I mean, it's just crazy to me that we had both of these guys on our team at one point in time, and they helped deliver us a championship. He can knock down a shot. He can hit the mid-range. He's a great cutter. He's a great finisher. He's amazing defensively. he's definitely in that top 5 conversation at this point in time. He does everything you want. Now, another question, Aaron Gordon. I know we just talked about guards. You said let's just limit it to guards, but
You can have some wings. No
the
bigs.
role players that there are, no bigs, that's fine. But the role players that there are on that Nuggets team with him and Aaron Gordon, I mean, it's really a special group of guys that they have over there. But Aaron Gordon and him are fighting in that top 3 spot. They genuinely are some amazing role players. But to me, Alex Caruso can fit on all 30 teams. He is that good of a basketball player because the job that he does, everyone needs.
So I'm gonna throw 5 role players, and you tell me if these are the 5 that you would take over KCP. So let me name the 5 first: Derek White, Aaron Gordon, Alex Caruso, Andrew Wiggins, and then I'm gonna go Caleb Martin. Because I'm going guys on recent championship.
I would say Caleb Martin is last on this list.
Okay.
I would say Wiggins. If we're counting him as a role player, which I know you say he is, he's an all-star. He was an all-star. He was the number 2 best player on your team when you won a championship. I don't know if I can say that he's a role player, in my opinion. I think he's pretty essential to what you guys want to do. So I guess by that theory, if you want to consider him a role player, he would be the best of these guys.
Aaron Gordon is right there with him.
Aaron Gordon is pretty great. I don't know is Aaron Gordon a better basketball player than Wiggins at this point in time? I guess you could
probably
I don't want to say recency bias.
A little bit. They kind of do the same things, but Aaron's a lot bigger, so he's a lot more active on the glass. I think Wiggins is a better shooter.
Before Wiggins was out, before he was out, he was shooting the 3 ball at a ridiculous clip.
Yeah.
Derek White's also probably better than KCP.
Yeah.
I think for the fact that Derek White has a lot of on-ball responsibility, he's going to probably be the point guard of that team this season. Him and Drew Holiday. But again, he's going to have so much responsibility in terms of defending, shooting the basketball, facilitating the offense. I probably lean him over KCP. So the names were Derek White,
Andrew Wiggins, Aaron Gordon, Caleb Martin. I think Caleb Martin will probably be the guy KCP would take the spot over.
Definitely. Because then if you off those 5 names alone, then no doubt Caleb gets kicked out. I'll put KCP in there. If I had to arrange the order, again, Wiggins is an unfair guy because then if we take Wiggins out, then we can keep, I guess, Caleb Martin.
Okay,
so take Wiggins
I would rather add Bruce Brown.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, you're fucked, buddy.
No, I'll put Bruce at the 5. I'll put Bruce at 5. At 4.
For me, I'd go Caruso. I'd go Caruso, Gordon, Derek White, Bruce Brown, and then I go KCP.
I think that's a.
I think
KCP is better.
Brown. Yeah. Okay, I'll go. Okay, Caruso, Gordon, White. Then I'd go KCP, then Bruce Brown.
I think I agree with that. I'm glad that you know that Caruso is the best.
No, I know. That boy, bro, he has big man impact for our defense. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
I wish you didn't sleep.
I'm glad I did now because I'm up. I'm wide awake.
Yeah, you are up.
I won 3 first-round picks for.
You're such a stingy bastard.
But listen. Great first episode. I'm glad to be back for sure. I want to just make a couple announcements for my fans, of course. I will be doing NBA content on Pick a Side. I think that's the thing I want to get into for this one. I don't know what I'm going to do yet for my personal page. I may lean the college route for that, more vlogs on that one. I'm going to do something. Like I said, I'm going to experiment a lot this year, but Riv Academy on Pick a Side will be NBA content. It could be anything, but it will be 100% NBA content. That's what I'm going to do. I am also going to be dropping some Riv Academy merch. I was talking to my little cousin. She's in the business. She goes to school at Drexel. She wants me to get into that. So I will be dropping. The first drop is going to be beanies, trucker hats, and some shirts. So I'm definitely going to do that for you guys soon, probably around Christmas. I'm going to get that in motion. But thank you for being here. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram. My Twitter is probably down for Riv Academy. I won't lie to you guys. can't get my password. So Instagram, TikTok, Riv Academy, Rivio on Twitter. That's just going to be where I'll put the Riv Academy stuff. I'm going to put it on my main page. But of course, never forget, keep liking up Pick a Side. Never stop doing that. Join the Patreon. Get on Pick a Side. Get to the fantasy reaction if you're a sleeper guy or ESPN fantasy guy. Touchdown with the Joel Moran show, of course. And he just dropped a new show about them lowly ass Jets. Get in tune with them. And then I can never forget my guy. Jump in with John Tortorelli and whatever he's doing in his show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. It's early in the morning, so I'll let you guys know the next time I drop. And let's have a great day, guys.